The Central District Commissioner of the Highway Department, it is Willie Simmons. Good morning, Commissioner Simmons. How are you, sir?
Paul, I'm doing great. And you and Perez, I'm hearing that you all are doing fantastic.
We are always. I got the second shot yesterday, so I'm Superman until some kryptonite knocks me down. So.
Yeah, don't take it on now.
Yeah. Hey, by the way,
I had my second on Monday, so I'm feeling good.
Did you have the Pfizer or the Moderna?
I had the Moderna.
So
no complications.
No complications.
Either time.
Well, that's good news. We had so many different interviews here, and people were seeing, and I think at one point we had like 3 doctors in here, and all 3 of them had some reaction to the second one. So I was kind of expecting that one, but so far, me and the better half, we have not, and that is good news. A lot of things going on.
It's that self-DNA that we have, Paul.
Maybe that's it. It's it.
Yes.
Hey, Willie, you and I know that if DDD can't kill you, you're not going to die young. Is that right?
I have to believe that. I think you're right.
You're absolutely right. Are you from your abode in North Mississippi as we speak?
I am in Cleveland.
You are in Cleveland. You got some nasty weather coming. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Highways
hopefully
and byways.
Hopefully it won't be too bad, and we'll get off the highway before it gets in.
I hope so, because we're talking about not a snow event, but possibly some an ice storm or ice, and that's not good. We haven't had one in a long time. God forbid. I was up in Clarksdale when we had one of the worst ice storms I've ever seen in my life, and it was incredible. It's one thing that's so beautiful and so dangerous at the same time.
Well, 1994 was a turbo year for us in this area. So
yeah. All right, let's talk about what's going on as far as, first of all, any bills that are going through the 2021 that you're concerned about or you are an advocate for?
We're concerned about a few, but let me just say, Paul, that the Department of Transportation is doing well this year in comparison to some other times that we have had. We have gotten through the COVID pretty good. We haven't had as much rain as we had last year, so we haven't experienced a mudslide. Our employees have been fantastic in responding throughout the COVID-19 with all of the various kinds of emergencies that we have had. They have been essential in responding and got out there. So I want to give all of the shout-out that I can to our essential workers, and all of them essential because Department of Transportation is that kind of an agency that works that way. Legislatively, we are advocating for some of the same things we have done before, which is we need more money. Our roads are being maintained to the best of our ability, but we don't have dollars to grow capacity or to maintain the highways. So we're advocating for that, and we need some attention to our personnel. So we are working with the legislative body and trying to get some personnel language in our bills and take care of that. Putting aside the money that we need and dealing with the personnel factor, a couple of legislative bills that we have over on the Senate side, Senate Bill 2825 and 2877. Don't know if you pay attention to those bills, but 2825 actually proposes to increase the weight up to 88,000 with a variance of about 90,000 pounds, going from 80 to 84,000 with a harvest permit. We see that as being a serious problem because our highways was built to about 80,000 pounds for state highways, and when we get into our county roads, you're talking about 55,000 pounds.
All right, hang on.
That kind of weight.
All right, hold on. That's Senate Bill 2825, and again, the weight is currently, and it's proposed to go up to what again?
Go up to 88,000. And you don't start getting citations until you reach 90,000. So quite naturally, you can say 90,000 pounds, but the bill speaks to 88,000 pounds. And we see that as a problem because our highways were just not built to that. The structure is not there. We have been fortunate to deal with the lottery money, and we've been putting some lottery money on 2-lane highways that have not been maintained for over 20 years. That kind of weight over a period of time will just destroy what we are doing and take our system back to one of gravel roads, so to speak. Yeah. We also have a bill.
Wait a minute. I'm not through with that one yet. Commissioner Willie Simmons, is that on all roads, from the interstate to county roads and all in between?
Well, the interstates are capped at 80,000 pounds. You can't run above the 80,000.
Right. Who's pushing that? What committee is that? Who authored that bill?
That bill is authored by our good friend, chairperson of the Transportation Committee, Senator Brandon from over at Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
It's a push that the logging community have been advocating for. Logging is very big in my district as well as agriculture. So we have a harvest permit that allows them to haul up to 84,000.
I got you. So it's basically to improve some coverage or increase coverage on each load as far as timber is concerned.
It is not to help because it's harmful. It will help that industry.
I understand, but what I'm saying is he is an advocate for that because there's a local industry or the industry wishes to carry a little bit heavier load.
She is.
Right.
She is advocating that in order to put more weight. But once again, when you look at what the infrastructure, the structure is actually designed for, 80,000 pounds. Now, we do waive it as of now with what we call a harvest permit, and we go up to 84,000 on your county roads because no log truck stops on just state roads. It doesn't unload when you get off the state road. It also get on the county road. Those county roads are built for like 65,000 pounds, so far less than what our state roads. So it will do even more harm to them. And as you well know, we've had a problem with our bridges. Many of those bridges have been closed.
Yeah.
So when you put that kind of weight on it,
I got you.
Problem.
But that's Jennifer Branning. She's District 18. She's Senator Jennifer Branning, a Republican. But you have made it known that this is exceeding the weight limits and that capacity to her.
We have made it known. We've talked to senators. We've talked to the lieutenant governor about it. Again, we have a relationship with the senators.
I understand.
Senator Brannon is a good friend. But, I understand the legislative process.
I want to talk about 2877 when we come back. And also, I had one high-level official concern a little bit about the overruns on Highway 49, some contracts. And I want you to speak to that also as far as Highway 49 and some cost overruns in that project. We'll talk about that with Willie Simmons when we be back live with a visit from the Central District Highway Commissioner Willie Simmons. U.S. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is coming on next, live from Washington, D.C. We'll go inside what happened yesterday. And again, the proceedings began at 11 o'clock today as far as the official gets underway at 11 o'clock. The 2825, by the way, I've got one thing on C Spire text line at 601-879-4395 says that trucks have been carrying more than that for a long time, and I have no idea how to respond to that other than if they are, they're probably in violation.
That is true, and that's one of the reasons that our enforcement officers need to be beefed up and kept with the Department of Transportation so that we can enforce it. Individuals who do the hauling don't like being stopped or ticketed.
Yeah.
However, we have to have enforcement officers out there in order to control and keep our highways and bridges safe. It'll be a tragedy, Paul, for a log truck or a grain truck that's overweight to go across a posted bridge, do structural damage to it, and then following that, a school bus loaded with children come across that bridge, and that bridge crash with those students on it. We would never hear the end of that. Everybody will be pointing fingers as to who's to blame.
Yeah.
And the best way to prevent that is to have good bridges, adequate to take care of it, and then to make sure that those bridges are maintained and kept safe. And our enforcement officers will do that. That's one of the other things that Senate Bill 2825 does. It transfers the law enforcement from the Department of Transportation to the Highway Patrol. And we're concerned about it because, again, when our law enforcement officers, when they're not on the highway taking care of enforcement and we have a serious problem with the weather, they help maintain and control the traffic. So they do dual things and work with NEMA in all kinds of situations. So that's a bad bill for us.
I always look at these bills, Commissioner, where is it just maybe answering somebody's plea, individual, but it's not something that's needed. And sometimes you have to get behind the scenes and study these things to see exactly if there is a critical problem on such a scale that demands the change of a law that's worked relatively well in the past. Let's talk about 2877. What is that you're concerned about?
We're concerned about that one, but in closing on 2825, let me just say that we as the Department of Transportation look at things holistically, and we look at public safety, and we can't just look at one particular segment of the population, whether it be the loggers or the farmers, and say we want to do something that's going to be harmful to everything. 2877, that is another bill that we are very, very concerned with. 2877 will actually take the lottery money from the Department of Transportation and send it to the counties and municipalities. When I was on your show the last time, I advocated for the legislation to put more money into the counties for their bridges. So we support the idea of them having more money. However, you don't rob Peter to pay Paul. You don't take the money from where the legislature in the special session in 2018 told the people, we are going to pass a lottery and we're going to use it for infrastructure for state facilities, bridges, and highways. Now the legislature proposed in 2877 to take that money. What we did, Paul, in 2018, you remember I was the person, the face of the lottery in getting the lottery passed. When we, in the special session, when Governor Brown called it, we did four major things as far as funding. We sent to the counties because they wanted a sale option to do sale tax. Instead of doing that, Governor Reeves and I worked closely with him as his chairman of the Senate committee. We came up with the idea that we was going to do a diversion use tax, putting in money from the internet sale tax and other funds that was coming in, sports betting, and put it into that fund, and then divert it back to the counties and municipalities. So each year, the counties and municipalities in January and July receive a check coming from the state for that purpose. We also did a $250 million bond deal for the bridges. And of that $250 million, $213 million actually went to the counties. And then the other thing we did was... So
we're getting into the minutiae, and I don't have a lot of time. So let me ask you this. But the counties have received quite a bit of money from this. This is a Melanie Sojourner bill to change the annual distribution of the first $80 million from the lottery proceeds.
You would only take the only increase that the state has received since 1987, the lottery, which is $80 million a year, and you would take that from us and send it to the counties. That's going to be devastating and take away our ability to maintain state highways.
That means that none of the lottery money would actually go to the Department of Transportation, but it would all be parceled out to locals?
You'll be sending the lottery money to the locals, the diversion use tax.
Do they get a match?
Money.
Do they get the federal match there like the state does?
No, they don't. So you will lose the ability to get federal dollars because we won't have the money to match.
What's the reason behind this one?
That one I haven't been able to figure out, Paul, other than it's just bad legislation. And
why the hell has it lasted this long? I mean, it's cleared. It's been introduced and referred to, I think, Senate Finance. So it's made it through several deadlines.
It made it through the committee. It's on the calendar to be looked at by the full Senate. So hopefully when the 52 senators look at it, they will understand and kill it.
But, I mean, you already have a sunset on this coming up as far as several years from now, don't you? I mean, it's going to – you have 80, and then everything over 80 goes to education for the most part, right?
No, goes up to 28.
Right.
And the language does say that everything over $80 million will go to education.
All right. One more. Some concerns about some cost overruns, and I'm not sure how much, $100 million, $125 million, that this project on Highway 49 has become a nightmare, according to some people. Would you speak to that as Central District Highway Commissioner?
Highway 49 needed to be expanded. And before I became a member, it was decided that they were going to add lanes to that business community of Florence, which the traffic was terrible, almost similar to Lakeland Drive on 25 going. So that was being addressed. However, recently, as a result of the rainfall, because of the soil and the fact that that water could not drain and that water just sat, that soil became so mushy-like that you could not utilize the normal material of sand and gravel. And when the contractors and the engineers got into trying to make it work, their actual equipment was sinking. So they had to come back in and take a look at it. The fellow partner with the Department of Transportation at the USDOT, our engineers, the experts on the outside, and the contractors all agreed that we needed to put stone in. And as a result of it, we're seeing an increase in the construction side of about $110 million, and then the professional engineering side, another 10% or so of that. So actually, you want to be talking about holistically about $128 million increase. We don't like the idea of having to do that, but because of the Mother Nature and the rainfall and the fact that we couldn't drain it on that Pearl River Basin, we had to put those stones.
Are you satisfied as commissioner that you've gathered all the engineers and looked at all the alternatives and this was the best?
I tell you what, Paul, I was very upset when we first heard that we were going to have the increase. And two things drove the increase: utilities and this soil situation. But after meeting with the engineers and then the federal government coming in and looking at it and saying that it's going to cost us 80% of your increase. So we talk about $110 million. They kicking in 80% of that, and they agreed with what we had to do. So at that particular point, I said, okay, big mistake, but let's learn from it, and let's change our operating procedures, and let's dig to the bottom of it when we are looking at it in the future. So now we have changed our standard operating procedures where we won't just be looking at about 4 to 6 feet, but we will be looking deeper than that so that we can hopefully catch into that kind of thing.
So what is the status now? Has the stone been laid, or where are we with that?
Yates Construction has that project, and that project is moving on, although we have to extend it. We were looking at completing it this year, but I believe it's going to be like 2022 now before we get it completed.
2022.
Yes, sir.
You have given us, sir, some great information. You are well-versed on exactly what's going on, and it is always, my brother, a pleasure talking with you. Do this.
Paul.
Yeah, make sure you got the ice scraper handy, okay?
I promise you. We'll do. Thanks, bye.
Thank you.